Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching Gossip Girl, Season 1, Episode 2, The Wild Brunch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good one.
It is a good one. I remember that. So there's a weird sort of, first of all, there's like a 5-minute long recap at the beginning, which is understandable for a show that's just starting, but.
Especially, I was going to say, especially for a Season 1 where they're trying to get new people every week.
But there's also a weird, like, flash forward through the episode. They, like, show a bunch of, like, the coming up. Yeah. And it's like, they don't keep doing that, do they?
No. Some shows do that, but this one does not.
No.
I don't think that continues.
And it's also very strange because we're back to, we are now at a reasonable amount of needle drops. However, the entire episode is bookended by Rihanna's Shut Up and Drive.
Oh, and it is throughout as well. Whenever the like action reaches a fever pitch, whenever like the teen angst reaches a fever pitch, it's like, shut up and drive.
Well, it's the get you where you want to go, if you know what I mean. It's just that part on a loop. The same with Gym Class Heroes, The Queen and I. The entire brunch scene, it's just, oh no, she's at the bottom of a bottle.
Yeah.
Like, it's very strange.
It's weird.
Because I don't think they keep doing it. I don't remember.
I feel like they have, like, there's that one episode where it's just Kings of Leon.
Oh.
It's just your
too late to apologize.
Your sex is on fire.
Oh, so maybe it does.
Yeah.
No,
they use it throughout
the Thanksgiving
episode.
Is what you say. Yeah. So yeah, okay, maybe it is a Gossip Girl thing. Do other shows do that and I just don't realize? It's like they pull the chorus of a pop song and just play it on a loop.
I feel like it might have been more of a thing TV shows used to do.
I don't know. Because we're not typically, like, if we weren't covering this, I probably wouldn't have noticed or it wouldn't have resonated. It would have come and gone. But so we pick up right where we left off. It is brunch Sunday morning.
The day after the Kiss on the Lips party.
And I think this is where, because brunch got really
really big in the mid 2000s.
And I think this is honestly my introduction to brunch is this episode.
Like, this type of brunch for sure. Yeah.
And we get a very funny, I appreciate how funny the show is because
it is like funnier than it needs to be.
Well, I was going to say its refreshing. Its reputation is like not trashy, but like soap opera, like drama and like stuff. And the Dan and Jenny recanting the end of the evening,
the like wave.
And it's filmed on digital, which makes sense, but it just sort of, that coupled with all of the old-timey cell phones, it feels like the whole thing is filmed on like a BlackBerry.
Oh my God. Like, the BlackBerries are like, because I think they do transition into iPhones in like 1 or 2 seasons.
There's a lot of sidekicks.
Yeah, there's a lot of sidekicks at first, and then they do, and then, but Jenny has the Motorola, the pink Motorola flip phone. But I think they do transition to like iPhones or smartphones in like a season or 2. But it is kind of just bonkers. Like 2007. So that was like, what is that? 14 years ago from now. I mean, it's wild. The technology shift. So
2007 is the first iPhone.
Yeah. Well, I have a funny story about that too, because my friend Susie, you remember Susie? Hi, Susie. I don't think you're watching, but just in case, I remember she got like her student loan refund check and she went out and immediately got an iPhone, and then her parents found out and were like, that is unacceptable. Return the iPhone immediately.
And that first iPhone did nothing.
No, it didn't, but I was like in awe of it. It was so funny.
Well, the apps were like look, I'm drinking a beer and like, oh, a lighter. And it was just, they didn't do anything.
I remember explicitly.
So we forgot to mention, because we were just getting started, the last episode, that Nate and Blair have not had sex yet, but Nate has had sex with Serena.
So Blair, I think, is Blair and Dan and Jenny Humphrey are the only virgins.
I mean, yeah, that checks. But it is sort of like a plot for Blair at this point. And there is the funniest scene in the first episode when Serena shows up at Blair's party and Blair's mother is like, Blair, Serena's here. And Nate yeets out of the bed.
He's like, Serena. And Blair's like, forget it. She's away, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, he literally is like, no, your mom said
and like climbs over Blair's dead body to get to Serena.
So funny. It's like, because like now at this point we know that Chase Crawford,
Blair has every right to be as mad as she is. But go ahead.
100%. At this point in time, in the year 2021, we know how gifted Chase Crawford is at like satirical, sardonic humor because of The Boys. Mm-hmm. But at this point, he's just a pretty face. And so for him to get, I mean, someone obviously probably directed him to do that, but to have him so physically commit to like literally pushing her out of the way so he could get to another girl. He uses her
face as leverage like, to get out of the bed.
It's a miraculously funny choice. It's very good. And they are like almost mid-coitus. Like she is doing her damnedest to get him undressed. It's so funny.
And so did he tell about it last episode, or was that this episode? I was ordering pizza. For
it was chunk. No, it was last episode. Okay. Yeah.
So
which is why she was so pissed that she showed up at the Kiss on the Lips party. But Serena doesn't find out that Blair knows until this episode.
And it was pretty good. Again, I think Blair and Serena, like friends to enemies, that's a little bit famous in the zeitgeist.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a reason. It's well scripted, it's well acted, and I think Serena, I was touching on this in our previous coverage, but I think Serena ends up being an interesting character, and I think that is almost entirely Blake.
Yes, yeah.
It's not on the page.
I think like a little bit of is on the page, but I actually think Blake Lively is a really good actress, and so like, I mean, see also legitimately a movie that I loved, The Age of Adeline. Like, you need something to pull that off, or The Shallows, which is your preferred Blake Lively. You need something else to be able to pull off the character she pulls off. I mean, I would go so far as to say her character in like The Traveling Pants is like, you have to have something in you to be able to pull that character. Well,
because Serena is somehow simultaneously like the it girl and the manic pixie dream. Like, it's like, it's
and the villain.
Yeah, it's several different types where other actresses would have taken it in more of a cliche direction, I think. Mm-hmm. Or they would have made it more of a stereotype, like a walking stereotype, than this, what ends up being a relatively fleshed out character. Mm-hmm. She can also err on the side of, like, dull or boring, but
there are a lot of cyclical character like progressions sort of in this whole show, because I feel like they all kind of go through cycles where they're like, it just like, it keeps coming back to the same stuff.
But she's also just so pretty in such a way that if she had a lot of personality, it wouldn't it wouldn't gel.
Yeah, no, 100%, because also I think there's something interesting happening here, and I don't know how much of this is on the screen or how much of it I'm just interpreting, but there is also a very interesting thing to be taken from Serena and Blair about like, is this not what they were born to do? Like, this is what they were raised, how they were raised to behave, what they were raised to do, how they were raised to act with one another. It's like, it's no surprise that Serena slept with, you know, she is the prodigal daughter. She is, you know, the fallen angel, like all of that stuff.
As apparently was her mother.
Yeah, and it is also a very Jackie and Marilyn dynamic that Blair and Serena have. And I think what you said about how they are, they do like a friends to enemies to friends to enemies to friends to enemies thing. I think what I like so much about that is because after a minute, actually, they just are friends for the rest of the thing. But what I like so much about it is that it's not just for the sake of drama. They have real issues at the heart of their relationship. And it's like, this goes a little bit into spoilers, but at this point in the series, Blair doesn't know that she doesn't love Nate yet. You know what I mean? Like, she is like clinging to the imagery of like what's in her mind and what she wants. And it's not really what she wants.
And again, we touched on this last episode, but it is so strange that Nate and Blair's entire relationship is a product of Nate's dad. Of like,
well, their continued relationship is, but I believe that they just were like, we're supposed to be together. We've been together since kindergarten.
Sure, but it's like you just get the sense that he's been engineering this from behind the scenes.
Well, and I mean, it's not like Eleanor didn't have anything to do with it either, so.
You think she did? Or because I kind of think that she was just like, meh. I don't think Eleanor cares what Blair's doing.
Okay, that's fair. That's super fair. But I do think that there is a point where at a certain point, Eleanor is like, well, I don't have to try to find you a husband if you're just going to marry your kindergarten boyfriend. So it's
like, I think Nate's dad is putting this on Nate. Ergo, Nate is putting it on Blair, and Blair's open to it. Like,
well, I also think Blair believes that this is what she was meant for. She's like, I'm rich and popular and powerful. I'm going to marry a rich and popular and powerful boy. It may as well be this one. Mm-hmm. And she's just like hung so much on the idea of Nate that she doesn't realize they don't have anything in common. She doesn't really like him, and he's in love with her best friend.
And they're also at that age where both the characters in the show and then the show itself, it's that thing I like to say where it's like they think they're people.
Oh, yeah.
Like they think they're at these points in their life and they're not there yet.
So they are also 16 for the most part, because there is an episode in this season where Blair turns 17 specifically. So
this episode also does something that I think is crucial to the success of the show and the season, but we get one of the famous Gossip Girl put all of our characters in a room. Mm-hmm. Is that what you thought I was going to say?
It was not.
Okay.
I was actually going to mention the excellent use of the parents.
Yeah.
And specifically, Kelly Rutherford, which I remembered what I wanted you to remind me about. It is wild to me how well cast she is as Serena's mother.
And her chemistry with
Blake.
I meant Rufus.
Oh, and Rufus and Matthew Settle for sure. But I just like all of their banter is really funny. It's like, it's sexy enough without being gross, where like everything that comes out of Chuck's mouth right now is just gross sexual innuendo, but he's just sort of like, you remember that tattoo like somewhere in your downstairs area.
It's just, and she is so good at just like, she does not reward his,
not even a little bit.
And and she's so, what did I write down? Which I was like, she's trying to act so proper, but it's like Lady and the Tramp if Lady used to be a tramp.
Yeah. Well, so in that case, it's sort of like Alice Cooper on Riverdale, where she like used to be a serpent. It's like Lily used to go slumming with Rufus, and she used to go slumming at all of these like Brooklyn parties and slumming. You know what I mean? And so that's the kind of stuff I like. And then the actual thing I wanted to say about Lily, that's like my actual favorite, is that they really managed to resist making her look like a desperate housewife. Mm-hmm. Like, because Kelly Rutherford hasn't really had work done, and she's just like an actually beautiful woman, and she's got like a lovely face. And so like, she's not wearing too much makeup. She's not wearing too much lipstick. She's not wearing lashes. Her hair isn't like really artificially blonde. It's great.
Well, and she also like, she's kind of a bad mom.
She's a super bad mom.
But Kelly imbues Lily with enough warmth that it's sort of like it doesn't come across like a moral failing.
She's
on
not
Lily's
like
part.
she's not a bad mom, but she's neglectful.
Just the whole like, well, you used to love parties, and it's like, Serena has a problem.
Yeah,
it's like
your daughter is an alcoholic.
Yeah, it's like you don't need
an alcoholic nymphomaniac. You need to relax and try like figure something out.
And like, she's very preoccupied in getting Serena back into the status quo, and it's like that almost killed her. Yeah. Lily, like, you have to know this.
Serena doesn't need that.
But
anymore.
Kelly has a way of delivering these lines with such like piousness, like such judgment. But yet there's still kind of a warmth, like the way she talks down to both Dan and Rufus. It's like,
it's so funny, especially after, because again, I forgot how fast stuff starts happening because she's already with Mr. Bass, with Chuck's dad in this episode.
I forgot how hot he was.
He's a fucking silver fox.
How hot Bart was.
Bart Bass is a fox. So that's the thing for me, is I forgot how fast that happens. And then Dan, like, because it's also, she has a similar rapport with Dan that she has with Rufus, because they're both Humphrey men and the Vanderwoodson women can't fucking resist. But it's so funny to me because it's not a sexual rapport, obviously, because he's a child, but it's so funny to me that she's like, I don't appreciate you eavesdropping. He was like, I was looking for Serena. And
but it's very knowing. It's very sort of, but that's not going to stop you now, is it?
Exactly. Like, but I love that she's like, well, I don't see her. Do you? And he's like, no, that's why I was looking for her. And so I love that, like, he can go head to head with Lily too. Like, it's very fun. And I think that's one of the things I like the best about this show is how good all the actors are. And like, I feel like this is the last time they screen tested like a cast for a drama together, because they're all really good with each other.
No, but that's the moments where it's so sublime for us, is when we get because the show sends all of these characters out into the world and then spends, like, at the beginning of each episode, and then spends the episode reeling them back in.
So that they can all confront one another at, like, some lavish party.
And
it's sort of like...
such a formula.
Or it's more like the Vampire Diaries, where they just, like, stay having decade dances at Mystic Falls High. It's like there's constantly a black tie affair on Gossip Girl.
Yeah, I wrote a note about what a prig Dan is, but I feel like we'll get
there.
We'll get there.
And he is, but also I like kind of understand his behavior in these early episodes, especially because this is their first semester at Constance and St. Jude's. I don't remember. It's Constance something and St. Jude's, the two schools. And so are they it's it's like not segregated. It's a boys and girls.
That's what I started. Yeah, I can't think of what it's called, but no.
It's not co-ed. I guess segregated is correct. Like, segregated by the genders is correct. But so he goes to the boys' school and she goes to the girls' school, obviously. But they, like, are in the same building and everything. And so having it be his first semester in this environment, although no, because they were at a 9th grade party together. So he has been going there for a while. So withdrawn. Then no, I
was going to say, I think he
has no excuse, except I guess the only slight excuse is this is his first foray into the actual, like, clubhouse, like, of the elite. Like, he's been going to school, but they haven't been interacting.
Well, because that ultimately ends up being one of my favorite things, is that he's so high and mighty because he's not like these rich people. Yeah. And it's like, but he is, though. Yeah. It's like, you are rich people. You may not be as rich, but it's like,
because it's what I said before, is it's like, he's not, like, they're not rich like Chuck Bass.
Yeah.
And like, Bart Bass is a billionaire. Lily has married more than one billionaire. Like, those are different things. But for me, the issue is, like, you still live in that incredible loft
because he has, in this episode, Brooklyn. He has I'm not from the Ozarks. And then he's like, no offense to the Ozarks.
But that's the thing, is I'm just like, you live in Brooklyn, but I guess 2007 was, like, just as the hipster thing was happening. So, I mean, I have a little bit of sympathy for Dan, but you're right. He is a prig, like, for sure.
There was, like, a whole convoluted thing about, like, getting Serena in Chuck's bed.
Well, Nate wanted to meet her to talk about why, like, the whole thing. And Serena was like, fine, I'll come to talk about, like, why you, like, told Blair, and then Blair was leading Nate up there, and then they, like, all had a thing, and I just, like, Chuck is too horny. Like, can we get him something for that?
And he called he
had sex with 3 women in this episode.
He called Serena
slut. Jenny and Serena slut, and it hits different.
And I was like,
14 years later.
Well, that's one of the words that it, like, there are words that we've had to reckon with in our lifetimes. And so when we had the whole, like, there was, like, a conversation about, like, the R word and like the other F word where we were told that we had to stop. But I was like, slut was one that we sort of just, like, phased out over time. And it's like, if it happened, like, 3 or 4 years ago, if we were doing this rewatch, I don't think it would have hit quite as hard.
No, but it just, like, every time he basically is just like, once a slut, always a slut. And it's just like,
We're like, stop saying that.
Especially because we're in this new kind of wonderful era of, you know, sex positivity, and, like, women can do whatever they want, and, like, sex work is real work, and, like, all of these things where I'm just like, slut doesn't mean it. Slut and whore, and, like, those don't mean things anymore.
So I feel like I'm holding on to something that I wanted to say. Because we didn't really mention in the pilot either, but we do have a subplot where Jenny is sort of in training, or she's like applying for Lady in Waiting.
Yeah. Or Handmaiden. If you've watched this before, there's an episode coming up.
Oh, yeah. And Blair obviously sees something in her, but Jenny is just skosh on the naive side.
Yeah, she just she thinks that Blair is trying to be her friend, and she's not ready to realize how much subterfuge goes into being Queen Bee, and it's
you have to be cool to be queen.
You have to also be ruthless.
That's just a line that I remember from the show.
You have to be ruthless to be queen too, and Jenny is not yet prepared for that, but she got a pretty Eleanor Waldorf original dress out of it. It's
no
fine.
strings.
It's just like a basic.
There's no strings attached to it.
It's also just like a basic sort of sheathy dress. It's fine.
So far, the clothes are dated, but not awful.
Yeah, I think for me, it mostly falls into the thing where it's like, if it costs enough money, it still looks fine.
True couture should be, true fashionable stuff should be relatively timeless.
Because for me, the most egregious is when Serena is wearing street clothes. Those are the most egregious examples of 2007 fashion.
And actually, already almost all of their hair has softened, so I think that was a slight.
And we got some beachy waves.
That was a slight overstyling on the pilot.
Yeah. Dan's hair is still not 100%. I thought it was faster, but it's growing out.
It's longer, and
there were 3 months in between pilot and episode 2 filming.
And then I think Chuck's hair is always terrible.
It gets better later. Once he nuts up and figures out what he's doing, it gets better. But it's very scene kid right now.
And Nate, I feel like Nate always has. I feel like this part is always just a little too long. I love this part long, but this part is just There's still sort of, there was a late 90s, early 2000s thing where they were trying to give men's hair
Yeah. I just feel very Chuck is going to the Black Parade. And I can't unsee it.
Those boys, those pretty boys trying to act all tough in the.
It's
although
so funny.
His shiner was decent makeup. I was surprised.
It was not bad. It was not, I mean, Ed Westwick might have gotten in a fist fight the night before.
Write that into the show. And we also have, I don't remember if he's an actual thing, but he's in the first and second episode. We have Dexter, the front desk clerk, and he hates Dan, and that is very funny.
It's super funny. And he it seems like he has kind of a soft spot for Serena, which is nice. We also
Woods and Girls, they just enchant men left and right.
They are no me Malone.
Beer flavored nipples.
I said that to Will today, and he did not recall it from the movie, and I was yeah. I was gonna say something.
We both made that joke today.
No, the other day. Oh, okay. I did it the other day, but whatever I was gonna say.
The front desk clerk
went entirely out of my head. Oh, we got the first mention of Dorota.
And waffles.
Rufus was making waffles, yeah.
So,
you don't even want to stay for waffles? He's such a desperate dad. Lily is too aloof, and Rufus is too desperate. So together they make one perfect parent.
It's just Apollo and Daphne.
I'm obsessed now. I need somebody make us fan art. Apollo and Daphne fan art of Rufus and Lily from Gossip Girl.
Oh man. Okay, well we're gonna hopefully eat some pizza and then watch the third one.
Yay. Bye.
I'll never tell. You know you love me. XOXO. Gossip Girl.